Going to go back to you in the studio.
Hola, hello, thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
As they came in, we're going to update the scores as they go around the windward mark. But now we've got 2 minutes to go, 2 minutes and 30 to go to the start. Let's get the clock up, 2 minutes 40 to the start.
What we do know is that it's the Danish boat where we're going to see onboard images later on during this race. Denmark 241, Ida Nielsen and Mary Olsen, and they have been the form boat throughout and obviously very popular performing in front of a home crowd. They've had a lot of local media attention, and the Danes have been looking very strong. And Peter, we were interviewing Ida Nielsen earlier this morning, and we interviewed Jenna Hansen, and it's clear that they've had a lot of help from the very successful Danish men's 49er squad, and that's where they've learnt their trade and learnt it very successfly in a short time.
Real springboard, isn't it? And that was acknowledged this morning. And Ida Nielsen, quite a sizable points advantage here. Now we are double points. She's on 65. Alex Maloney from New Zealand, 82. So there's enough there, isn't there? If she can just be consistent, we could actually see a hometown advantage, a hometown winner of the FX here in Denmark.
We could, but bear in mind what we saw yesterday and the fairly light winds that we had. The boat that got a first and second place was the Brazilian boat, Martin Grael and Kaheno Kunze. They looked to me like the fastest boat on the racetrack yesterday, and we've just seen with Victoria Herzog, she may not have got through, but we saw what a bit of speed and light winds can do, even on these short courses.
So you fancy Martin Grael? It's BRA 321. That's who you're looking out for in this one?
I think if I was the Danish boat currently leading this regatta, I'd be keeping my eye on them. I wouldn't want to get caught up in a match race in the first of 3 finals races, each of which are worth double points. But yeah, I'd certainly be keeping an eye on the Brazilians.
We're inside the last minute to the start. This is the first race for the medal race for FX women.
Now, who do we see on the right-hand side of the screen on port tack?
Another Brit. Strange. How about that?
And it looks like they're going to be the only ones again that get the port tack start. It looks like everybody else is going for the starboard end. There's a British boat on the committee boat end that looks like they have no room to get through.
I'll put a small wager that it's Francis Peters.
I think you're right. It's GBR Bob on the other end, or GBR 808, but they call themselves Team Bob. That's why they chose that sail number.
So same tactic by Peters coming across on port. There goes the gun. Siren, and off we go.
Sounds like a clean start, and look who's coming towards us. Left of picture, it's Francis Peters and Nicola Groves. They've been allowed to do exactly what they did in the previous start. They've got hotter competition in the finals here, but how they're going to do, it's going to be fascinating to see.
So now we absolutely know that it's a strategy.
We do. It's not rolling the dice. It's what they want to do, and they've got exactly what they want.
So coming right across, we're looking at the boat immediately in front on port, coming to the marker. That's obstruction. They have to tack inside. There goes the tack of the petite final winners, Francis Peters, GBR 121.
Denmark 241, that's Ida Marie Nielsen has started in the middle. Not a super great start. They've tacked away now. Or have they not? That is Denmark 241.
It looks like Francis Peters and Nicola Groves are already well ahead of the boats that have tacked over early. So already we see the strategy paying off on one half of the fleet. The fleet on the far side, we've yet to see how they're progressing, but I think it's looking good again for Francis Peters and Nicola Groves, who took that port tack start.
Certainly it's a strategy that has worked in the petite. Now it's working in the main final as we look here at
That's Charlotte Dobson.
Charlotte Dobson, and I'm looking in there. There's the New Zealanders tacking. That's Alex Maloney, Molly Meach.
And look at that boat going across the top of all those port tackers.
Well, that's great. It's like a replay of the previous race, although the fleet are more compressed.
It does seem to be the winning strategy right now, but it's awfully close. And who's going to make it to the ley line first? Is it the Italian boat? Can they actually make the ley line, or is it only Francis Peters that can
Here we are on board with the leaders of the regatta at the moment, just going through onto Port Tack. You can see how busy it is on this race course.
They're down in 6th position at the moment.
Well, it's interesting. The leader, they're down in 6th, and I'm looking out the window, and I've got Martine Grail back in 8th. So, wow,
Now,
talk about a tip-top.
Look at the Italian. Sorry, go on.
Tipsy top here. They've turned the fleet upside down when we get into these short stadium racing.
It looks like the Italians are going to be leading into this, Mark, if they can make this ley line.
Oh, definitely, yep, they can, and they've got good pace on. They're currently in the lead.
That's Giulia Conti and Francesca Klapčić. And they are a 470 sailor and a laser radial sailor from previous Olympic campaigns that have teamed up together. They've gone round first ahead of the Dutch. That's Annemiek Beckering and Claire Blom. And round in 3rd place, Francis Peters and Nicola Groves. So it's not quite the race-winning strategy, but still a very solid strategy to have started on Port Tack.
Didn't seem like they were able to convert. They were ahead at the first cross, but then as it all got compressed at the top mark, because of course they came back in on port, slightly under the ley line.
Saw a lovely jibe there by the Dutch, and it looks like they might roll the boat to leeward just out of picture there. So the Danish boat rolling over, it's one Danish boat rolling over another, and that was a superior jibe that did that.
Look at the comeback here from Martine Grail. She was back second to last, coming into the top mark, and she's jumped right through. I'm not sure if she's up to second because of the boat on the far side, the white spinnaker, but for sure a lovely top mark approach, Marcus, and exit by Grail.
Yeah, but she put in an expensive jibe right now. Beckering back up to pace. That's the Dutch boat in the back, 131 and 247. The Italian boat in the lead currently. That is Giulia Conti and Francesca Klapčić.
And
have you learned that name, Andy?
What's that?
The crew's name?
Francesca Klapčić.
Klapčić.
Francesca Klapčić. What's
Very
the problem?
good. Very good.
We were talking to them this morning. They were quite delightful. Weren't they? They were pretty. I don't know. They saw today as a challenge, didn't they? And an opportunity. And they certainly were going out there with positive thoughts. And these conditions coming from, I think, Italy and Spain, they'll be feeling right at home in these conditions. So through the bottom mark gate.
Yep. We hear an umpire's whistle there.
Interesting.
And it's 181 is doing a penalty turn.
That is Tina Lutz and Susanne Boyk who have to do turns there. No idea what happened. I could go into replay, but let's focus on the front of the fleet.
The Italians just going out of picture on the left-hand side. They're coming up the right-hand shore side, which seems to have more breeze more of the time, but they look to be on a very low heading, which when they tack will give them a lot of starboard to complete. Meanwhile, on the far side, the Dutch are going up the far side. It was really a battle between the Italians and the Dutch on opposite sides. Coming towards us here, Francis, no, I think that's the other British boat. No, it's Francis Peters front and GBR 808 tacking out behind. So Francis Peters and Nicola Groves coming towards us. They like the right-hand side of the track. This is where they've been most of the day. So running through.
With that kind of point score, they would have already climbed up to 7th place, coming from the Petit final. Nice race for them. Maybe the practice in that first race did help a little.
Yeah, I think it's. I agree. I think it's. They've figured out where they want to be on the course. We're heading up now. We see a cross coming up here with the Italian boat coming across, still in the lead. A small dip there, so there was a gain this time on the left.
Well, really, doesn't that tell us that it's actually quite even across the port and starboard
I've got
side
one
of the
for
course?
you guys. Is it different condition at the bottom of the course than the top? Marcus, it looks like you want to be on the right at the bottom and maybe on the left at the top. That makes it real tricky.
To me, it looks like this.
Looks even.
Stronger breeze at the bottom of the course, but I'm not certain. Now they're well pressured up on the left-hand side. Giulia Conti looking good, fully stretched.
Where they're attacking there, on the right-hand side of the course, they're only about 100 metres from the sea wall where we are, and there's a lot of concrete here. there's a lot of potential for heat. Do you think there's any local thermal effect?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're having a sea breeze right now, and that's all about
Lead
thermal.
change. We've had a lead change there with the Netherlands getting into the lead. I'm just looking through my list. Annemiek Bekkering
Claire Blom?
coming through, so a lead
Great
change.
upwind for them.
Great upwind. Now, you talked about it earlier, Marcus. They did, I'd be interesting to know, I'm not sure if you can bring it up or not, number of tacks, because for sure on such a short track, if you can do one less tack than the opposition, and tacks are expensive in the light, that's probably a bit of a game changer.
And yep, no problem to bring that up. I get that straight from the analytics, and it's 6 tacks on the Dutch team, 7 on the Italian, and 11 on Alexandra Maloney. Actually, not tacks, that's all the maneuvers. So clear correlation here between place positions and number of maneuvers. You really want to minimize those maneuvers out there.
I was lucky to get that one right. I was only guessing and fishing for, but the analytics is brilliant for that, isn't it? You can go in, you can delve in as a spectator and also as coaches. Of course, they love that stuff. Looking at the fleet now, they're going down towards the finish. We have the Netherlands and then Italy. Looks like Alex Maloney's come through. She was a bit back earlier on in the race, but coming right down the side of the course. The NZL 111 as they set up for a jibe, and they're going through. How much spin-off do you think that these young girls have from really their mentors and you know, the guys that are winning the overall? That whole 49er scene in New Zealand looks quite strong, Andy.
Yes, and you can see them hanging out together before races. They're obviously able to ask the boys exactly what they do in the 49er, and the boys will tell them their secrets and what they can pass on.
And here's the finish of Annemiek Bekkering and Claire Blom from the Netherlands. That is Netherlands 131. Going through the finish now. There's the horn. And they win the first final race of this 49er FX European Championship.
And the favourites are back, aren't they? We've got the current leader on points, Ida Marie Nielsen, right back there. She's either 8th or 9th, is it showing 7th on the animation. So this is going to put them under a little bit more heat. They went into the regatta with a good buffer.
Martine Grael and Kaena Kunza from Brazil had a pretty good race there, so they certainly have closed the points gap.
But Grail's back as well. I can see they shot up the field, but Grail's not down over the line yet as they're coming down. Very close finish coming up there as Nielsen goes through. Might have just snuck one back on the line. Close, very close finish for that group that went over the line. Denmark, Germany, GBR, and the Brazilian boat. We will come up with an update on the score.
I can get the score right away if you like, and it's quite interesting indeed. Let's look at the detailed scores actually. We've got Ida Marie Nielsen, who didn't have a great race, the 12 points, that's the 6th place. We are counting double points here. So she's got 73 points, which is still a very substantial lead, but look how close the points are behind that. In 2nd place, Alexandra Maloney with 88 points. 3rd place, Martina Grael with 88 points. They're tied on points, and only 2 points to Annemiek Bekkering in 4th place. So it's going to be a very interesting final for the next 2 races to come. It's 2 races to go, no discards, double points. A lot can happen. There's 16 points on the table, actually 18 points on the table in every race.
So the big mover there was Bekkering, wasn't it? That win, you can see from winning that race, she just shot up the leaderboard.
I can tell you, she actually climbed from 5th position to 4th now, but the door is open to go further now.
But the points, in terms of the points differential, yep. she gained a place, but really she's really come into contention for a podium finish.
Yep.
The Brazilians had a disastrous final leg. They were actually closing up on the overall lead, and I don't know what happened to them on that final run to the finish, but to fall back to 8th place from where they were in more or less 4th place or so.
They had a great end to the first beat and a good downwind, but then something went wrong towards the top of the second windward beat. It's reflecting how tricky it is, isn't it? You know, the leaderboard's up and down. It's hard to be consistent.
Even with as few boats as we have, there's still traffic in the middle. There's still congestion if you're stuck in the middle of this fleet, and we're seeing the leaders stretch away.
No, I find this really interesting. There's been long discussion about formats and new formats, and the sailors argue you don't want to dumb the format down, and you don't want to make it close to the end artificially. Great sailors should stick out, and that means they're in the lead at the end of the series. I think this format has done a great job at doing that, but we can see there is someone sticking out, and that's a performer, Ida Marie Nielsen. She's performed really well this year, and she's sticking out a little bit now, but in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place, it's really tight. I think the way to bring fleets closer together is not to change the format, it's to bring up the performance levels and to make the boats more even, and that will bring the exciting finals and the exciting sailing. But you can't artificially dumb it down.
So you're saying that this format is still rewarding the best sailors?
Absolutely, but this proves to be a very exciting final to come with the positions being so close. Ida Marie Nielsen seems to be very safe, but there's 2 races to go. A lot can still happen. She has to put in solid places, top 4, top 5, then she will be safe. But the silver bronze medal is up for grabs for 3 or 4, maybe even 5 boats now.
Well, the key for Nielsen is to actually get a good solid point, a good solid race in the next one. She wouldn't want to be scoring high again in race 2 of the medal races. She's got a good buffer there at the moment, but very quickly, double points, you can have a big points advantage, whittles away pretty quickly.
Yep.
But it's certainly all on between Maloney and Grail and Bickering.
Breeze is holding up nicely.
Now, I did hear a signal. I think that might have been, again, another warning, so we already could be into a sequence. We'll just stay with you.
Just doing the math, what does it actually mean, the lead that Ida Marie Nielsen has? If she would come last in the next race and Alexandra Maloney would come first, they'd be almost tied on points. So that's the lead she has. She has to hang in there and stay close to these guys. I don't believe it's a strategy to actually look out for the boats and try to stay close. You have to sail your best race, and you can't control the other boats in this small course. You're only going to mess up. That's what I believe. But we'll see how she handles the situation.
So we've had the warning signal. Haven't got a clock up at the moment. We might, if we get lucky, be able to get a shot of the committee boat. Of course, on the committee boat there is an LCD timer that we can pick up if we get a shot, but I'm not sure if we're in warning or not, and it just doesn't look as though there's still coach boats alongside any of the boats. Yes, they are, so maybe we are a little bit further out from the start than I originally thought. Conditions-wise, it's pretty well the same, isn't it? I'm not seeing a change.
I think it's more or less the same, and I wonder if we're going to see a similar pattern of starting again. It's served Francis Peters and Nicola Groves pretty well. They may not have won that race. I still think they had their opportunities because they were leading halfway up that leg. And it was when they allowed the Italians to get to the right-hand side of them that they actually lost the lead. So the strategy of Francis Peters and Nicola Groves to get out to the right-hand side before anybody else seems to be working, but maybe they need to work the right-hand side even harder.
But regardless of that, I mean, a third that they got, that's a pretty good result. They've jumped off the bottom. They went into this 8th. They're now up to, I think they're up to 6th.
So it does seem to be working out, that strategy. If 3rd place, if you can get top 3 every time you employ that strategy, then you take it, wouldn't you?
Well, we'll watch out and we'll pick up if Francis Peters does the strategy again, pre-race to come across on port. It's worked for her twice. But of course, what happens is the fleet learn, if someone's doing the same tactic often, you might well see the fleet decide, I'm going to take that away from you.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. And I thought we would have seen more port tack starters, but anyway, they got away with it that time all by themselves.
We're just going to get
Steering signal.
Marcus here. I'm now thinking that might be the warning. Marcus, can we do a bit of a, on the animation, a bit of a pullback so you can show how close we are to the shore? It'll show the boundary. Just give us a bit of a geography shot.
I can actually fly out of
let's-
Aarhus. That's the
we're gonna
city
do a
of
flyover.
Aarhus, and that's the Baltic Sea. So let's
Oh.
zoom back in, and that's the city of Aarhus, and we're really close to the harbor, close to that quay here, and that's where our race course is. That's the racetrack, and let's look at the race course. We can see the starting line, and the boats are going up to the windward mark. Then they're sailing down into the gate. They have to stay within these white lines left and right, go back up to the windward mark, and down to the finish. It's a 2-lap course with boundaries left and right that they have to avoid and that they have to stay out of.
And the other thing, Noel, we've got time. Yes, perhaps you can show the viewers where we're located, and we're in the prime spot, right on the boardwalk, running alongside the area. Are we able to show where we are, Marcus, on your animation, or we'll come back to that perhaps?
I'll come back to that, or we get a shot from the roof onto our studio whilst we're waiting.
We're just we're waiting. The signals are going. I just heard another one there. I think now we might be into 3 minutes from the start. Okay, we've just had confirmation that we're in fact 5 minutes out from the start. So we have a wee bit of time to show you some of the sights around here in Aarhus.
Yeah, we could go back to the 3D graphics and talk about the race course a little bit more. So what we're actually positioned here, so we have a great view over the race course. And the race course, what we've seen is that the majority of the fleet has started out and headed this way, and some boats decided to go out in this direction and do one tack, then do a long upwind, do one more tack and go around. That seems to be the winning strategy at the moment, but you have to have a good start down here. If you can't make it past the starting vessel, because if there's a boat parked, then that's bad luck for you. You're not in control anymore. It is a high-risk start. At least I always felt about it that way. And if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, it's very costly.
I think if you're the only one doing it, I think it's actually a very low-risk start. You're not going to be over the line.
So this is a view from the water. That's our studio that we're broadcasting from. You can see we're right on the foreshore. Marcus, it's your little baby. Tell us a little bit about it. I think it's fantastic. And you utilised 2 shipping containers to build it.
Yeah, we wanted to have a mobile studio that we can bring anywhere in the world, really. And the only way, or the cheapest way of doing that, is to put them into shipping freight containers. And we stack those 2 containers on top of each other. We slap a roof on it, and off we go. We have our mobile studio that's set up the same way all the time, and we'll see that at lots of regattas worldwide, hopefully in the coming years.
It certainly is
It is a premiere
innovation.
for us, and the first time we try it out, and I like that you like it, Peter. You've been around a long time in the sailing world and have done lots of commentary. Our studio is small, but it's working really well.
Well, it's nice and cosy, and having Andy Rice next to me is not all that bad. And we saw another little feature that you have incorporated into the coverage there, the drone. We just saw it take off, and now we're on the drone shot, looking back towards our studio.
That's our drone camera, and that gives us beautiful images, aerial shots that you could never get from a helicopter like that, because everybody would blow away underneath it with the downdraft that a helicopter creates. And the drone is just so light; it just flies closely to the boats and gives us a nice overview of the race area, in this case of our studio setup.
Well, we'll just cut away from that. We're just trying to give you a little bit of overview of the setup we've got here in Aarhus. Andy, you're getting close. You're getting agitated. You want to get into this?
I am. We've just got 2 minutes to the start, and I want to see the pattern of play and how it's lining up. And there we can see series leaders with a yellow dot on their sail just behind the A flag on the race committee boat. So they're lining up for a conventional tack, start on starboard tack.
Should we use the last minute for a reminder about the results? Should we look at the leaderboard once more? I just take the simple leaderboard. It's Ida Marie Nielsen in first place, 73 points, and Alexandra Maloney with 88 points. Martina Grail from the Great Grail sailing family from Brazil with 88 points as well, and Annemiek Beckering with 90 points in fourth place. And another Danish boat, Jana Mai Hansen, in fifth place with 96 points. Outside chance for the bronze medal maybe, or the silver, but could still happen. 2 races to go with double points.
1 minute to the start. Just heard the start signal. How are things shaping up this time?
I see another Port Tackett there, and okay, boys, place your bets. Who do you think that might be setting up down the leeward end of the line?
Might be a British boat.
I think it's got GBR on the sail. Can she get away with it for a third time?
Well, I think she can. I think it's a pretty safe start. She has to rely on good starting from the starboard boats because she could come through and find that there's no place for her to go. But it's a small fleet. Everyone wants to get a good start, and these are the best sailors in the FX fleet. So I think it is a good strategy, and I think we're going to see her in the top 3 halfway up this beat.
We're talking about Frances Peters, who came through from the petite final. We've seen a strategy employed. It's been
Coming
worked
into the
out.
last 10 seconds. Last 10 seconds, is it going to be a clear start? There's a Danish boat on the far left side, just getting going. The Italians starting at this end of the line, and already just behind the Italians and now behind the Danish boat, you can see a boat about to pop into view and come towards the camera. And that again will be Frances Peters and Nicola Groves. Can they make it for the 3rd time running? Remember, they made it work to qualify in the Petit final. They've made it work in the first race.
Let's go to top view, and we see Peters sailing out to the right-hand side of the course. It didn't work as well as it did before. We've got a slight delay here on the graphics. Nice start by Lutz and Nielsen on the left-hand side. The first tack is going to be interesting. Slight delay here on the graphics. Let's go back to our camera images and maybe on board. Nice shots from Ida Nielsen. They're working the boat. The crew has to go in. It's not that strong a breeze anymore. Is the wind already dropping? Is that the dying sea breeze?
I seem to, yeah, I agree with you, especially where we are. And it's a bit of a pattern like we saw yesterday, Andy, isn't it? You know, the wind, it panted in and out a little bit, and then as the afternoon went on, it collapsed or it died away.
It's a much warmer day than yesterday, so I have hopes that the thermal breeze will hold up a little bit longer.
It does look like on the far outside of the course, it's stronger breeze actually, and that would favor the left-hand side a little bit more this time around. It doesn't seem like Frances Peters can take the lead through because of her move to the right-hand side. At the moment, the boats on the left-hand side are in the lead.
So 3 boats on the left-hand side. We've got Brazil, New Zealand, Denmark. They're coming back now on port. And coming out of this right-hand side group, I can see a German boat, so that'll be Tina Lutz, who's leading the charge back. Can she have a piece of the leaders on starboard? We look at GBR there, 808, which is Charlotte Dobson.
And they're just tacking. That's the Dutch. Annemiek Beckering and Claire Blom. But a different British boat looking like it's doing well at the moment. But their right of picture is the Danish boat, Ida Nielsen and Marie Olsen, series leaders, having a much better race so far than they were in the earlier race just now.
Certainly looking good. So regatta leader Ida Nielsen from Denmark in the lead. Then we have, it looks like GBR coming in there looking strong. So that's Charlotte Dobson coming across on starboard. Coming across on port, who are the giveaway boat, we've got the New Zealanders Alex Maloney. Got to be careful in terms of the rules of the game as they come into Mark 1.
Nielsen making the first mark comfortably. The British boat in second place having to push up for it. Can they get round? Remember, they mustn't hit that mark.
That's Ida Marie Nielsen on board, bearing away in the lead. If she can bring this home, she's got a chance to win this regatta before the last race. But it's not over yet, but good work on her. Solid first upwind.
great to watch the speed of that hoist as well. Really fast hoisting from Marie Olsen. Very solid manoeuvre from them, and big applause from the shore for the local crew, for the Danish crew, Nielsen and Olsen.
So Nielsen off the line was in a very nice position. They came across, they consolidated, and towards the top mark, they engineered their approach to the top mark beautifully. They've now jumped out to a nice little advantage over 808 from Britain, Charlotte Dobson. So it's a good race by her. Again, the New Zealanders are up there in third.
It looks to me like the British boat's got a little bit more breeze this side. I don't know if they're going to be able to get over the top of the Danish, but I think the British are in a good attacking position there at the moment. But there's not long to get down there, so as long... Okay, here we are back on board with the Danish boat.
That is just a replay of the Windward Mark rounding. Crew coming in, easing the jib, bearing away, balancing the boat all the time. Yep, bit more balancing. Oops, go in, get up the kite. Nice shot from the onboard camera.
Great example there, Marcus, of how you've just got to be so lithe on board the boat and in phase with the boat.
Let's go back to the...
We're back to live, bottom mark. This is into the gate, and it's still Nielsen leading from Dobson. From next, I think it is Alex Maloney.
Very slow mark rounding there.
It's
And
gone
they're
soft,
heading
hasn't
up.
it?
It's very soft wind down there, and they're heading up to the
Nielsen's
Windward
extended.
gate. Windward Mark. Interesting split coming up here. Dobson going to the right, Nielsen to the...
It looks very soft now down in the bottom of the course. You can see Nielsen now rolling into a roll tack.
Lightest breeze we've seen so far in racing today.
For me, on the other side, the boat on the far other side, I've gone a bit quiet. It looked like the British boat has a little bit more pressure, although now Nielsen is out on the trapeze. No, this side's come good again. Gee, it is puffy. It's up and down. Some of that would have been the disturbance from the boats that were still going down to the bottom mark.
That's the price that GBR 808 paid on the far side, is they would have gone through more bad air than the Danish.
That's our series leader, Ida Marie Nielsen, 241, Denmark 241, and they're heading up to the last Windward Mark of this second race in the final, and it could be the deciding race for them. Looking at the scores, there is a chance that they could secure winning this regatta early on.
Their closest competition is the New Zealand boat, Alex Maloney and Molly Meach. So much will depend on their finishing position.
But you know, right through the week, it's no surprises that these two crews, Nielsen and Maloney, they really have been there or thereabouts. And it's Ida Marie Nielsen that's had the edge, hasn't she? From day one, they've been winning the regatta. And I think if they take this out in this race, they're certainly going to be worthy 2013 European champions. And doing it on their home patch, how thrilling that must be. This morning, Ida was talking about her parents are here, her family are here, her supporters. Quite an emotional time.
Great place to have your first major championship in the 49er FX, the start of an Olympic campaign, and what a boost. And what a boost for the home crowd as well. We're going to see a big cheer for the boat as it goes round the Windward Mark for the second and final time in this race.
Nice tack by Alexandra Maloney right there, and that's the leading boat, Ida Marie Nielsen, rounding in first position.
Decent breeze there. Both of them on trapeze. Big cheer for them as the Jenica goes up again. Another fast hoist by Marie Olsen, getting that Jenica set immediately. Beautiful crew work there.
On the last leg, down to the finish, it's Denmark 241. Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen, they're leading from Alex Maloney and Molly Meach from New Zealand. And really, those two have stepped out from the rest.
And it's not been a good beat for GBR 808, Charlotte Dobson and Sophie Ainsworth. They were vying for the lead at the bottom of this course. They went to the left-hand side. They didn't find a lot of breeze over there. They're going round in fourth place. behind the other Danish boat, Diana Hansen and Katja Iversen.
This morning, Andy, you and I were speaking to the young New Zealanders, Alex Maloney and Molly Meach, and we asked about their setup and tune, and they just said, we do what the guys do. Same setup. So really, and I'm sure Ida Marie Nielsen the same, they have a real benefit from sailing with their male companions in terms of the technical side of the sport.
Yes, and look how it's paying off for the Danish here. Well ahead. It's the Danish and the Kiwis coming from two strong 49er nations, both having learnt their trade quickly. But having said that, it's a very strange double jibe there.
Yeah,
it's gone quiet. It's gone quiet for the leader on this over on the left-hand side.
The pressure is back up. They seem to have a problem with the main sheet. Maybe we can go on board. Sorry, with the spinnaker sheets. I couldn't make out why they did that double jibe there, but they're back in the breeze, and they're taking this home for sure. And they're going in for a substantial point lead in the final race. At the moment, it looks like a 17-point lead, so probably impossible.
They've got problems with their Jenica again.
It's gone funky down the bottom of the course for them.
Yeah.
It's very light over it.
But they're reacting
very
really
tricky.
calm and composed, and they're defending their lead.
There's something going wrong through their jibes. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it looks like the top of the Jenica is getting caught somewhere at the top of the mast, and the Jenica's not setting as nicely as they would like it to. Let's see how it goes on this jibe.
Yep, they
Goes
say,
through, okay.
but it's still going to be all fully closed, and that could mean, let's focus on that. Yep, they finished first, and that means they're in for a 17-point lead in the last race. Is that beatable? The last boat gets 18 points, the second one...
It's theoretically beatable, yes. I mean,
No, that you can only generate a 16-point gap in one race. Because the last one's yes.
Yeah, you're right. So 2 points for the winner and 18 points
This
for
is
the
all
last place.
provisional.
We're all
Yeah,
provisional.
We're this is all provisional. We're jumping ahead. But one thing's for sure, it is a very, very substantial lead for this last race. And if she doesn't come last, I think she's won.
Yes, I agree. I think she has to race. I think she has to do the race because
Oh, she will
anyway.
for sure. I mean, you wouldn't bet on that anyway.
She certainly, in terms of the old saying, you know, the fat lady, she's on the stage, she's the vocal cords are warmed up, Andy, so the opera is nearly over in the women's FX class.
Never over till it's over, and there are boats that have gone home early thinking that they've got it in the bag with a race to go, and they get ashore and discover that something was different to what they thought. As you say, you can't drop these races anyway, so that there's no way that we're going to see the Danes go in for an early celebration. They're still going to race this last race, but Marcus has pointed out that it's almost impossible for them to be beaten at this stage.
So that brings to an end the second race, the medal race for the women's FX, 49er FX. We've got Ida Marie Nielsen. She won the race, winning overall with 75 points. Alex Maloney on 92. And Jenna Hansen, also from Denmark, there on 102. So, wow, it's quite a performance, isn't it, by this Danish team with right now 2 on the podium.
Yes, it really is. Accelerated learning curve, and they're reaping the benefits. And can they sustain this through to Rio 2016? They've got all the bits in place to be able to do so, but you will see other experienced sailors, such as the Italians, who are seasoned Olympic campaigners, learning the 49er FX. I don't know what kind of access they have to some of the Italian men's 49er experience, but I think overall, at this stage, in these early stages, it's about learning the boat handling and learning the basics of the boat. But as the years move on closer towards Rio 2016, it's the subtleties, it's the tiny differences that will come into play, and also the psychological strengths of the sailors. So I think there's some really good sailors that have won medals or done very well in other Olympic classes in the past, and that experience will start to come to the fore once they've mastered the peculiarities of skiff sailing. I think Anna Tunnicliffe, for example, the 2008 Olympic champion in laser radial, she knows how to do an Olympic campaign. She may not know the 49er FX very well, but she will learn that over the next year.
We will just go over to Marcus. He's got an update here on the results.
Let's look at the overall standings. There we have it, Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Tusgaard Olsen with 75 points in the lead. That is a 17 points lead to Alexandra Maloney and Molly Meach from New Zealand, and Jana May Hansen and Katja Saskov-Iversen in third place with 102 points. So the point gap's quite substantial. Interesting battle for sure for bronze. Still an outside chance for Jana May Hansen to win a silver. Two Danish boats on the podium at the moment with the women FX, and still a tight battle going on for third place. And yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting final race of this regatta that I'd say has been a total success in terms of sailing, in terms of format, and in terms of broadcasting as well.
Certainly is, and for me, I'm going to be taking special note here that third place with Hansen and Grail, so the Danish boat, or 136, and Brazilian boat, that we really something to look out for. Grail doesn't seem to be having as good a finals as she did yesterday. She was on fire yesterday, but today just doesn't quite look as dominant.
No, not what I would have expected at all. She came into today in second place, now in fourth place, still with a good chance of attacking for third. Second starting to slip away. I thought she'd be challenging for the lead today based on the performance we saw yesterday, but it's a different style of racing and different style of tactics. I think yesterday she had a boat speed advantage, and maybe she's not making that any kind of boat speed advantage pay on such short courses.
To me, it's not so much a boat speed day as it's about position and finding a lane and being able to manipulate that top mark rounding. Marcus, we've already talked about boats that do less tacks and jives, less manoeuvres, because they are costly in this light stuff.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that. That's an expensive investment, and we do have onshore breezes today, and it's very steady breeze, and you gotta move very slowly in the boat. It's the tiny things that make the difference. Very different conditions to the offshore breeze we saw the other days, and yeah, I like the tactics that the British boat has adopted, because if you can avoid that extra tack and you get out of the start, then you've got something in the bag already.
Well, we've seen that work for Frances Peters, and that one not to the same degree though, Andy.
No, I worry that I might have jinxed her and spoken too much about this, but I think the difference was that when she came off the line, she was much lower on port tack. We've seen her come towards our commentary position here, and she was low of that. So I think she started on a down phase of the wind shift, and that suggests that the starboard tackers had a longer run of starboard before they got out to the boundary. So maybe you need to be careful about picking the phase of breeze that you're in at the start, and if you're starting too low on port tack, maybe you're giving away too much. I still think the right-hand side of this course is the safer place to be breeze-wise. Maybe it's that thermal effect off the city. You're just that little bit closer to it. I always find it amazing that breeze can be so localized, even on such a narrow course as we're seeing here. But it does seem like that the right-hand side is safer. And we saw the other British team, GBR 808, vying for the lead at the bottom of the leeward gate. And yet at the top mark, they dropped to fourth and lost a lot of distance on the leaders. So the left-hand side, I think, is still the riskier place to be, breeze-wise.
But in that particular race where Nielsen actually got off the line, got a good start, went all the way to the left-hand side, so she came from that left-hand side in that particular race. So it's all about fighting for the hard yards, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. If you're going to get a start on starboard, I think I fancy starting close to the committee boat, so you've got a longer run of starboard, and you're able to dictate to the boats that started to the left of you.
So we're coming up to the third race for middle race for women in the 49er FX. We're not far away. They're in starting sequence as we go, not too far to go for this one. This will be the last race of the European Championships for women. We have almost a European champion with Ida Marie Nielsen, Marie Olsen here from Denmark. They are locals. They're from Aarhus. And I wouldn't mind betting they get a bit of a warm reception from the crowd sitting down below us here in the studio if they can pull off a good start and be at that top mark.
They always get a warm reception every time they go round the top mark here, so imagine what it's going to be like when they win this regatta.
We look at the boats on the start line. We're in the coverage when you our onboard camera is actually with Nielsen and Olsen.
So it's 1 minute to go only.
Very similar starting positions for some of these boats. GBR 808 liking this end of the line, but it looks like they're going back round for another approach because they've crossed the line very early there. They're okay to do that, but that's a bit of an error from GBR 808. The Danish on the left of picture, they are the ones on the cusp of winning this European Championship. The Italians on the right-hand side turning back down, making sure they're below the line with 20 seconds to go. And there's a Union Jack on the left-hand side, GBR 808 repositioning. And again, I think I see two port tackers at this stage. Will they stay on port tack at start time as we come into the final 5 seconds? 3, 2, 1, and in middle of picture you can see at least one boat turning down on port tack. Someone's over.
Individual recall.
I can check who that is. It is probably...
could be a Dutch boat maybe, but there are two.
Yep, it was Beckering.
There are two boats coming towards us. I bet you one of those is Francis Peters and Nicola Groves, and it is on the left of picture. And there's a Danish boat that's also had a go at the same tactic. I think that would be Jana Hansen also coming out this way.
Great start, by the way, for Grail from Brazil, and good start for Lutz and Boyke on the left-hand side. They came out really well on the pin end. They're closing into the boundary. They've got a bit to go. Not such a good start so far of the race of Ida Marie Nielsen. She's down in 7th place, and also the 2nd place boat, Alexandra Maloney, in the tracking at least. She's looking like she's in. Can you spot her?
Yeah, I think we've got her right up here on the boundary. She's probably, I think, in 9th position, so not a great start for the 2nd overall, Alex Maloney.
Lutz is tagged but couldn't pass through. Not sure if she can make it past the Brazilian boat.
They look low as they come back across on port tack, don't they? They look like they're on a low heading, but they have had good breeze on the left-hand side. It looks like the right hasn't been quite so good for breeze on this occasion.
I think there was a bit more congestion on the right this time, and the race leaders have come across. So that's Conti, who we're seeing coming across from the right, and Martin Grail as well, the Brazilian boat. They're coming across. They look strong, and we've got Tina Lutz, Suzanne Boyke, the German team coming across. But it's going to be Grail that will be leading this one as they tack to windward of the Italian team. Now that's opened up quite a nice little lane for the Italians if they can lay the top mark. As we come back there from an aerial shot, that's the three boat. They are the three leading boats. So we've got Germany, Italy, Brazil, heading towards the top mark. Who's on the lay line?
I think Brazil. I'd like to be Brazil.
Well, if they're on a nice short lay line, yeah, the other two have got attack. This will open up very nicely here for Martine Grail. She's on a short lay line, but she'll be able to squeeze around that mark. So at mark 1, it is Martine Grail from Brazil leading, and then it's
and a very close
Tina Lutz down to leeward.
Can she make it? Can she pull around without touching that mark? Yep, she can. Jibe setting, spinnaker goes up. Oh, that could be a slow set. Can they get the kite around? Spinnaker's not all the way up yet. It's stuck. Terrible.
Horrible hoist for the Germans.
Yep.
But you can see what they were trying to do.
Pulling away, but it could still pay off. They've got clean wind now. Interesting split on this downwind. We can see the German boat in the foreground currently in 2nd position. Let me check on that. No, 4th, but they're heading out to the right-hand side. Yep. right-hand side of the course. Peters, Hansen, and Grail on the left-hand side. Not a good race for Ida Marie Nielsen, currently in second last place, but 91 points, no threat to
Penalty,
her overall.
Penalty there for Beckering.
Not good for the Dutch there, but very good for the Brazilians. Just going left of picture, the white Jenica pulling out ahead of the rest of the pack. Also going very fast with the black Jenica is the Italian boat.
And that's good news indeed for Martina Grail, who jumps back in second place overall.
So that's a big move up for Grail, and of course with the New Zealand team back in sixth position or seventh position, that we may well see a change in the leaderboard for podium finishers. So Martina Grail, beautiful start and a great ley line at that top mark, Andy, and that at the moment would be the defining part for her in this race.
Yes, she'll be thankful that the other girls tried to tack in beneath her for that ley line and they just couldn't make it, and the fact they couldn't make it and had to do 2 extra tacks really handed the race lead to her.
Well, that was going back to what Marcus was talking about in terms of number of tacks on a beat. So that 2 extra tack at the top mark by the boats that were second and third really played well for Martina Grail, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good move, and Martina Grail now in the lead. Let's go to the top view. In the 3D graphics, we can see how far she is ahead. 60-meter lead to Peters and Lutz, who's trying the left-hand side again. Conti in second place.
The lines, the vertical lines on the screen, when you go to the live shot on the water, that is illustrated by marker buoys in the water. You can see the orange marks in the water. It's like the field of play. You cannot go outside the field of play in this format of stadium racing.
The Brazilians are continuing to stretch away. They're directly ahead and to windward of the Italian boat, which is their closest threat. The Italians just left a picture with Francis Peters just slightly further left. GBR 808 poked out more in the middle of the picture.
And in front of the studio and the crowd is the Danish boat, Denmark 241. That's Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Tusgaard Olsen, who are not having a great race, but who will probably win this regatta. They've got the yellow dot for the gold medal in the sail, and they are overall in the lead because of the great regatta they had so far, despite this not so good last race. But they're overtaking another boat, and they're heading towards the windward mark, and it's still really tight up there at the windward mark.
And the important thing for them is that their closest rivals, the Kiwis, Alex Maloney and Molly Meach, are having a horrible race in this one. They're currently last. So their closest threat is having a terrible race, and that should do it comfortably for the Danish in terms of winning this European Championship.
Certainly will, and for the New Zealand pairing, I think that's going to mean they will slip down the leaderboard with that bad race. It's going to be costly in terms of podium finish for the young New Zealand combination, but there's certainly, it's pretty clear now that Ida Marie Nielsen is going to take out the regatta, and from my eye it looks like Grail is going to leapfrog up into second place overall.
Well, that would be well deserved looking out the window now. It's a massive lead. It's probably 120 meter lead. I can check in the analytics. Substantially, it's 110 meters. And that, yep, looks like it puts her back into second place.
And still, the way it was at the top mark with the run to the finish, we're still going to have 3 Danish boats up in the, two Danish boats in the top 3. Gina Hansen is now up to 3rd overall on current standings on the water.
We should focus on that battle because she could well still make it onto the podium.
It's the loser out of this going to be Alex Maloney, who's back there in last place.
It's all about places, and if Alex Maloney and Molly Meach can actually make places on this final leg, they can still get back onto the podium.
And Ida Marie, that is Jenna May Hansen, is marching through the fleet. She's having a great downwind, It's Denmark 136,
And it's
charging towards the finish. And that would put her back on the podium in third place, passing Alexandra Maloney and Molly Meach from New Zealand. That's bad news for you, Peter, but good news for the crowd out there.
well, I think it's a phenomenal effort for this Danish team to get, a winner and a second podium finish, and that just really sends out a bit of a warning shot to the rest of the world.
But it's one more jibe to go. We can go into the top view and see Jenna May Hansen closing into the finish. Can she make it? She's in second place right now. That would be enough. I think we've got a missing tracker here. Let's go back to the drone shot. Here it is, the finish, awfully close.
So boats are very, very close. There are the Kiwis. Can they get back into this? It's going to be very tight on points.
Actually, the Kiwis have finished well. They've come through on the last down when they went down the top mark they were behind, but we'll just provisionally, we won't come up with the results. We're waiting for the official score here. It's going to be very, very close for third position in the European Championships between Hansen and Maloney, as we just wait for confirmation of the results.
What we do know is that we have a European champion.
Yep.
No one's going to get Ida Nielsen and Marie Olsen, so let's just think about them for a little bit while we wait and find out what's happened to the minor placings for silver and bronze. But phenomenal performance by them.
Here they are.
There,
Here they are. They're celebrating. They're taking their Danish flag and they're going to parade along the promenade here in Aarhus. That's the winner.
Yellow dot on the sail and another gold star for them today.
European champions 2013 here in Aarhus. A well-deserved victory for Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen here from Denmark. Great applause from the crowd sitting here on the seawall on the promenade. We look at our European champions, and that's the first champions in the Europe Regatta for the FX.
That's right, that's the first big one we've had.
Here's our provisional results. They're not official yet, but it does look like there is two Danish boats on the podium. In first place, it's Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Tusgaard Olsen. That's the European champions. In second place, it is Martina Sofiata Grael and Katina Larsen Kunze from Brazil. And in third place, Jenna May Hansen and Katja Salskov Iversen from Denmark.
First and third, and the crowd are running down to greet the Danish victors as they sail back into the harbour and show their appreciation for a home victory.
Well, that's a great result as the Danish flag flies from the regatta winner here in Aarhus, and a well-received victory for this crack Danish team and the FX. They are acknowledging the crowd. Wonderful scenes, wonderful excitement here in Aarhus. Very popular victory for the women's FX.
We should acknowledge what a tough week that has been for the girls. It's just the final day, but they've been collecting points, sailing races all week to generate that lead, while collecting as little points as possible, of course. And here they are with the victory. Well done
And
for them.
comprehensive in the end, wasn't it?
Absolutely, well-deserved victory by them. There's the crowd.
Lots of Danish flags flying in celebration.
Well, two boats on the podium. That is a massive success for the first season in this class. Credits to Peter Hansen, their coach, who's built up this team, who's also coached the bronze medal winner at the last Olympics, Alan Norgard. He's doing a terrific job.
They've got a good program going here, obviously, Marcus, in Denmark. I mean, I look back at some of the previous results for Ida Nielsen. She got first at the World Cup event in Parma earlier in the year, third at the Delta Lloyd in Medemblik earlier in the summer as well. But surely this would be the highlight of her season. It looks like we might be just getting an interview out on the water. I'm not sure if we're ready to go. It's not our team, unfortunately. I thought I was getting excited.
That's the Danish television.
Well, and I think, to be honest, they deserve to get in there before we do.
Absolutely.
For their interview. And isn't this great for the sport in Denmark? I understand they're getting on national television. There's a lot of interest, and it's been building up over the week. Some of it attributed to they're taking some of our broadcast here from our commentary position, and that's all good for the sport.
It's great to watch women sailing boats like these. It's about time they had a boat of this level of performance for them to sail, and you can see how much the girls love sailing these boats. But it was also noticeable walking around the boat park today, Peter, that there are the odd injuries around, aren't there, as they're learning their trade.
Certainly a bit battle-weary. It is a bit unusual to go and see in a boat park and see some of the injuries that some of these young women have endured, but still got a big smile on their face. They're loving it.
Oh, they're loving it. They do find that the FX comes back and bites them occasionally, but that's while they're learning their trade, and many men have been through that same learning curve with the 49er. It's just a matter of learning how to master the boat and not the boat master you.
Yeah.
So, Marcus, you know, we've watched the 39 at the medal race for the women's 49er here at the SAP European Championships. Reflecting back on it, on the final series, your highlight?
Well, I think this medal race in the theater has been the highlight. It shows again that you can have this race, you can have racing that close to shore. I absolutely love the football field concept, where you have a very confined space. It's actually not bigger than a football field if you look out there. And I think in the future we should have augmented reality, where you can see the boundaries more pronounced in the broadcast, and something similar to what they do at the America's Cup. And I think things are going in the right direction. The course will be bigger, of course, with twice the wind, but then it would still not be too big. So I think the format is key, and it's great fun, and my feeling is the sailors love it as well. It's not too many boats on the water, it's tight battles, so I love the final, and I'm looking forward to the men's racing in a few minutes.
Should be exciting. Andy, again, we're seeing petite final, medal races now for women. Well, what's the key moment? The Brits were coming on strong, but towards the end, it looks like they just faded a little bit. I mean, Peters and Francis, they'll be delighted. They got in from the repechage. They got up to 5th overall. That is a result.
Yeah, I don't think that's a fade. I
checked myself as I went through that, and then I was going to give you a bit of a bagging. Looked at the results and thought, oh, I did not say that. You'll give me a bit of a touch-up. They'd be pretty happy with that.
Did I just hear we've got something coming through?
Okay, here we go. We now get...
We're here on board with the champions from Denmark. Ida, tell us what it means to win here on home waters.
It's like amazing. I've never tried to have so many audience before, and yeah, family, friends, everybody are in there and clapping. It's just fantastic.
Marie, you guys have had support all week long from this crowd. Could you hear them cheering you on as you were going around the course?
Yeah, we could, especially when we are in a good race, first around the top market like that. They're screaming so high, and it's amazing to hear.
You guys have been on top all year. You're still on top. What are your sights? Where are your sights set now?
The next goal is to try to do as good as possible for the Worlds. That is the next spot. And afterwards, we're trying to go to the Olympics in 2016. So yeah.
Okay. Congratulations to you both. Go home and celebrate with your families, and we'll see a lot more of you.
Thank you.
Back to you in the studio.
It's been it's lovely to see, isn't it? Those the excitement of winning a major event, and we're going to hear a lot more about that combination leading into the Olympics.
And they love the cheering, they love the crowds, and that's something that the Olympic competitors talked about at Weymouth last year on the Noth course, and people pay good money to come and watch sailing in the Olympics. It's not something you'd normally pay for, but it rated really highly with the audience. They came out with smiles on their faces. The tickets weren't that cheap, about £50, but they came out feeling they'd had a good day's entertainment. And just coming back to the boundary courses, I think one of the potentials for boundaries is surely, rather than having the lines of rope with marker buoys, could you not have floating pontoons and actually sell tickets for ringside seats?
Yeah, I think actually that the lines are good for a lot of things. I mean, the media boats can pass along. You can park boats behind it, and yeah, theoretically it could be walkable, or there could be a real grandstand where people can sit. But I also want to comment on the girls liking the clapping. It's so sweet because sailors are not used to that. I mean, so many sports, when you perform at top level, you're used to people watching you and clapping for you and admiring you. Sailors are usually on the water, and when they perform, they're not being viewed, and that's changing now, and it's so nice to see that they enjoy that.
Absolutely, and just reflecting on the results, the team that went through from the petite final, we talked about it. If they had a good regatta, they nearly got up into a podium position, nearly got there, but to really go from 9th to 5th in this company, that's a fantastic result for Frances Peters. She will be delighted.
They've had a great day. To only have a slim chance to get back into the final, to seize that opportunity, and then once you're back in the big game, in the final, to sail as well as they did. They weren't making up the numbers in there, were they? They were holding their own, and they must have had one of the best final days regattas of any of the teams out there today.
Exactly. Then reflecting, Martine Grail didn't have her first two races, not that great. She was back in 8th and 7th, but finished off with a convincing victory. And on top of her good performances yesterday, she was the top boat yesterday on the water. That put her up into 2nd place. And I think, based on what we saw yesterday and her last race, a deserved silver medal for Martine Grail.
Guys, I think we have to check on the petit final for the men, which is on in a few minutes. Let's check on the timer if we have any timing out there.